Okay, if you spent any time listening to rock on the FM dial, maybe back in the 70s, 80s, even 90s, especially somewhere like LA, you probably remember DJs who were more than just voices between commercials.
Oh, absolutely. They were like guides, curators, really. They picked
Yeah.
the music, set the mood, maybe even dropped a little philosophy on you. It felt personal.
Exactly. We're talking about the era of the freeform DJ.
Yeah.
And, well, maybe the last truly prominent figure carrying that torch in commercial radio was Jim Ladd. He sadly passed away late last year, 2023.
Yeah, Ladd was kind of the anchor, wasn't he? Holding on to this idea, this way of doing radio that the industry itself had pretty much decided was, outdated, obsolete.
Right. So that's our mission for this deep dive. We want to really get into Jim Ladd's story. What was freeform rock radio? Why did it basically vanish under corporate pressure, starting way back in the 80s?
And crucially, how did this one guy, Jim Ladd, manage to keep doing it? This really unique, personality-driven thing for like 5 decades, often fighting his own bosses to do it. It's an incredible story of resistance.
Before we even get to his LA legend status, though, we should probably mention his early national footprint. Because he wasn't just a local voice initially.
Good point. Interview, that was his nationally syndicated show, hour-long, weekly, essential listening for rock fans across the U.S.
Over 160 stations nationwide for 12 years. Think about that kind of reach back then. He wasn't just some LA DJ. He was shaping how people all over the country engage with rock music interviews.
Totally. And Interview wasn't your typical puff piece interview show either. It was about artistic integrity. Ladd got to talk to pretty much every major rock star of the time.
And he asked the real questions,
Yeah.
right? Not just, how's the tour going?
Exactly. He dug into the creative process, the politics behind the songs, sometimes even the spiritual side of rock and roll. It gave him this national identity, tied to thoughtful curation. It set the stage for his later battles.
Okay, let's rewind. Back to the very beginning, 1969. Where does Ladd get his start?
He kicks things off at KNAC. It was a small but pretty influential rock station down in Long Beach, California.
But he didn't stay small for long.
No, he moved fast. By 1971, he's already up at KLOS, a major player in Los Angeles radio. Shows you there's definitely an appetite for that kind of personal touch even then.
But the big move, the one that really defines the early part of his legend, is KMAT, right? 1974.
That's the one, KMET. Affectionately known to everyone listening as the Mighty Met. He spent most of the next 13 years there. If you want to understand Jim Ladd, you absolutely have to understand KMET.
So paint us a picture.
Yes.
What was the vibe at the Mighty Met? Why was it so important, especially for this idea of free-form radio?
Well, KMET was more than just a station playing rock music. It really captured the whole counterculture feeling of 70s Southern California rock. It wasn't like AM radio with its tight top 40 playlists.
Right, AM was all about the hit singles.
Exactly. KMET was where you heard the deep album cuts, stuff you wouldn't hear anywhere else. It felt like a community, a scene. And the DJs weren't just voices reading liners. They were like tastemakers, friends almost. They broke artists, especially West Coast bands. That whole atmosphere only worked because it was freeform.
Okay, so let's define that term, free-form, a bit more clearly for anyone listening now who maybe only knows today's radio.
Sure. Think about commercial radio today. It's mostly, heavily researched, playlists decided by consultants, focus groups, algorithms. The DJ often just connects the dots, reads the script.
Yeah, they're hitting the posts, basically.
Right. Freeform was the complete opposite. The DJ had, well, almost total freedom to choose the music. They could play a whole side of an album if they felt like it.
Wow.
Yeah. Or maybe jump from, classical music right into heavy metal, or follow a blues track with some new punk band. It was all based on their instinct, the vibe, listener calls maybe.
Following a feeling or an idea.
Exactly, an artistic thread. For Ladd, giving that up wasn't just changing jobs, it was like abandoning the art form itself. The radio booth was his canvas.
And KMET, in its prime, lived and breathed that spontaneity. But the sources mention that things started to change. By the late 70s, early 80s, people felt KMET was declining. Not the music itself, but something else.
Yeah, the industry pressure started mounting. This is the big shift, moving away from trusting the DJ's gut to trusting the numbers, the metrics.
Okay.
And a lot of that decline gets pinned on bringing in radio consultants. The big name there was Lee Abrams. He was pushing this new format called album-oriented rock, or AOR.
AOR sounds harmless enough, right? Album rock. What's wrong with that? But how did AOR actually kill freeform? What did guys like Abrams do?
Well, it sounds like rock, but AOR was really about, let's call it commercial sterilization. Abrams and others used tons of research, especially Arbitron ratings, to figure out what songs tested best.
Ah, the testing.
Yep. They created these tight, small playlists of proven hits, power rotation songs. Instead of a freeform DJ playing maybe hundreds of different tracks a week, AOR might limit them to 50 or 60 core songs played over and over.
Takes all the risk out. And the discovery.
Totally. Plus, AOR used strict day parting, meaning the music at 8 a.m. had to sound different in a measurable way from the music at 8 p.m., all designed to hit specific advertiser demographics.
So the DJ goes from being a curator to, what, like a data entry clerk?
Yeah.
Just pushing the buttons the research tells him to push?
Pretty much. Limiting song choices, killing spontaneous segues, sticking to the pre-approved stuff. It just gutted the soul of a place like KMET.
And the way KME ended.
Yeah.
It's legendary, almost infamous in LA radio history.
Oh, it was traumatic for listeners. February 14th, 1987, Valentine's Day, of all days, management just pulled the plug instantly.
No name.
None. Dumped the rock format, got rid of the KME tall letters, fired the entire on-air staff.
Yeah.
Gone. Overnight.
Just erased it. And KME became KTWV, the wave.
Yeah.
Smooth jazz, new age.
And here's the kicker, the real symbolic gut punch. KTWV launched with no DJs at all.
Wow. Just automated music.
Exactly. It was like the ultimate middle finger to personality radio, saying the human element, the DJ, was just noise, unnecessary overhead, going from the mighty Met, this vibrant community hub, to basically background music. That Valentine's Day massacre really set the stage for Ladd's whole career going forward, fighting the spreadsheet.
Okay, so KMET's gone. And now the main theme for Jim Ladd for the next, couple of decades really crystallizes. It's this constant battle, this refusal to just play the hits off a list.
Yeah, station owners wanted conformity, predictability. The playlist was king, and Ladd just wouldn't do it. He saw it as selling out the craft.
Which, predictably, made finding steady work pretty tough.
Oh, absolutely. He worked on and off, as the sources say, for several years after KMAT folded. And you have to understand the bigger picture here, the context of radio deregulation in the 1980s.
Right, the rules changed about who could own what. How did that fuel the pressure against guys like Ladd?
Well, before deregulation, there were limits on how many stations one company could own in a single city or even nationwide. Deregulation, especially the big Telecommunications Act of '96, but building on trends through the 80s, blew those limits away.
So suddenly you get these giant corporations buying up hundreds of stations.
Exactly. Companies like Cumulus, Citadel, Clear Channel later on. And when you view radio stations purely as assets in a giant portfolio, what do you prioritize?
Efficiency, consistency, cutting costs.
Bingo. A personality DJ like Ladd, who insists on doing his own thing, who might cost more, who doesn't fit the standardized model, he becomes a problem, a disruption. It made it super easy for these big companies to just flip a station's format overnight or fire everybody if they thought it would goose the stock price or fit some national strategy. Ladd wasn't just fighting a program director, he was fighting Wall Street in a way.
Let's look at a couple of examples of just how nuts it got for him. The KMPC-KEDG situation in the late 80s.
Right. So he lands at KMPC-FM, and he actually helps them shape this new format they called Full Spectrum Rock.
Sounds ambitious. What was the idea?
It was trying to thread the needle, maybe, blend classic rock deep cuts with newer modern rock, trying to keep some of that curation alive, avoid the really narrow AOR box. Ladd was apparently pretty excited about it. He was there when they rebranded the station in March 1989 to KEDG, The Edge. Big launch, new identity.
And
then, poof, just 2 months later, he's laid off. The station completely abandoned the rock format.
2 months after launching a whole new brand.
2 months. It's insane, right? You pour your energy, your name recognition into this thing, and some executive somewhere decides, nah, not working after 60 days. It just perfectly shows how ruthless and short-sighted the business had become. The talent, the connection with listeners, totally secondary to the immediate bottom line.
And that wasn't a one-off. It happened again just a few years later at KLSX. He gets hired there in 91. Seems like maybe he found a spot.
Finds another temporary home, yeah. But then July 1995 rolls around, and it's deja vu all over again.
What happened this time?
Even more brutal, maybe. The entire KLSX on-air staff, including Ladd, fired all at once. Station flips format again, this time to talk radio.
Just like that. Gone.
Yep. It highlights how even the format itself, rock music, was seen as disposable, just commodity. If the ownership thought they could make more money selling ads to a talk audience, boom, rock's out, talk's in, and all the people who played the rock are on the street.
So the takeaway isn't just Jim Ladd got fired a lot, it's why. It's this environment where stations were just assets to be flipped, not cultural spaces. And Ladd's refusal to compromise, even when it meant being unemployed again and again, that's what makes his story so compelling. He kept the faith.
So even with all this turmoil trying to find a stable gig on commercial radio, Ladd's influence didn't really shrink, did it? He became this larger-than-life figure.
Not at all. He was more than just a voice on the radio. He was a recognized cultural symbol, almost, which led to some really fascinating crossover projects where his voice represented something specific.
Like the Roger Waters album, Radio KOS. That's a huge one, 1987. Yeah, this is amazing because art was directly imitating Ladd's life, and maybe his life was imitating the art too. It's a concept album, pretty complex, about media overload, war, communication breakdowns.
It's pretty heavy, and Ladd's role.
He plays a fictional DJ named DJ Jim, and in the story, he's the only person, the main character, Billy, this kid who's disabled but can hear radio waves in his head, can really connect with.
Whoa. So DJ Jim is like the voice of sanity.
Kind of. The voice of reason, the champion of real communication in a world full of noise and corporate static. Think about it. Jim Ladd, the real guy fighting corporate playlists, is literally playing the part of the last authentic voice on the air. It wasn't just a quick voiceover. He was woven into the album's whole message.
That's incredible. Did he tour with Waters for that?
He did. He joined Waters on the Radio KOS tour, performing his DJ Jim part live on stage every night. And he was even in 3 of the music videos from the album. That really cemented his identity beyond LA. Artists respected him because he got the art, you know? He wasn't just thinking about chart positions.
And he popped up in movies too, right?
Yeah.
Using that distinctive late-night voice.
Definitely. The classic one is Cameron Crowe's Say Anything from 1989. He plays that perfect all-night DJ.
Oh, yeah, the guy who sounds like he understands exactly what you're going through at 3 a.m. That was his vibe.
Totally. His voice just signified authenticity. That's why you hear him in other big films too, like Tequila Sunrise, Rush, She's Out of Control, even Defender with Woody Harrelson later on. Filmmakers knew you need the sound of real, thoughtful FM rock radio. You call Jim Ladd.
And he didn't just lend his voice. He wrote about the whole experience too. His book, Radio Waves.
Radio Waves, Life and Revolution on the FM Dial, yeah. Came out in 1991. It's basically his story, a semi-autobiography, but it's also the story of freeform rock radio in LA, its rise, its glory days, and then the fall, focusing heavily on KMET's end in '87. Essential reading if you care about this stuff.
And there's an interesting detail about who got named in the book.
Right. So Ladd apparently used pseudonyms for a lot of the industry people, maybe for legal reasons or just discretion. But the real legends, the true believers in Freeform, they insisted he use their real names.
They wanted to be on the record.
Exactly. Rana Donahue and her husband, Tom Donahue, you know, the absolute pioneer of freeform radio, they specifically told Ladd, use our names. They were proud of what they'd built.
That says a lot.
It does. And others, too, like David Perry, Ace Young, Jack Snyder, Damien, B. Mitchell Reed, J.J. Jackson, all these iconic L.A. radio figures, they wanted their actual air names in there. It shows they saw Freeform not just as a job they lost, but as like a historical movement they were part of and wanted credit for, even after it seemed like it was over.
Okay, let's jump forward a bit. He eventually lands back at KLOS in 1997. And this time, it sticks for a while, right? And he wasn't just hanging on, he was successful.
Amazingly successful. His late-night show, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. weeknights, plus Sundays, it regularly topped the ratings for its time slot, according to Arbitron anyway.
Which kind of flies in the face of the whole corporate argument, doesn't it?
Completely. The industry mantra was standardize, predict, play the hits. Ladd was doing the exact opposite, deeply personal curation, playing deep cuts, talking to listeners, and he was winning, even in the middle of the night. It proved that personality and connection could build incredible loyalty. He built what he famously called the tribe.
The tribe. I love that. It really captures that sense of community, right?
Yeah.
Listeners who felt like they were part of his show, who followed him everywhere.
Yeah, they stuck with him through all the firings and format flips. And what's really smart is how Ladd adapted that connection to the technology that was just starting to emerge then. He showed Freeform wasn't just some dusty 70s thing.
How so? Like with the internet.
Exactly. He got onto MySpace, then Facebook, really early for a broadcaster. And he didn't just use it for promotion, he used it to interact directly with the tribe. He'd take requests from the comments, respond to people, basically make the show a two-way conversation.
Turning radio, which is usually one way, into something more interactive.
Precisely. He integrated their feedback right into the show's flow, using these new digital tools to strengthen the freeform ideal. And eventually, KLOS started streaming his show online in 2008. They recognized his audience was migrating there too. He adapted.
So he has this great, long, successful second run at KLOS, leads the ratings, connects with the tribe online, but you just know the other shoe's going to drop eventually in commercial radio.
Sadly, yeah, it's the recurring theme. Despite all the success, the connection, the history, the corporate machine caught up with him again, October 26, 2011, fired from KLOS.
What was the trigger this time? Another ownership change.
Bingo. Cumulus Media bought Citadel Broadcasting, which owned KLOS. New owners come in, they want to standardize operations, cut costs, impose their own model, and the unique, maybe more expensive personality DJ is often the first casualty. Same old story.
It wasn't about his performance or his listeners. It was about corporate synergy or whatever buzzword they used.
Pretty much. But Ladd, being Ladd, didn't just vanish. He made sure the tribe got a proper goodbye. He did this special 3-hour farewell show on KFI, an AM station in LA, on November 5th, 2011.
Must have been emotional.
Hugely emotional by all accounts. A real tribute, but also kind of the symbolic end of an era for Freeform on mainstream LA radio. But that wasn't quite the end of the story for Ladd or for Freeform.
Because technology offered another path.
Exactly. Just a few weeks later, December 2nd, 2011, SiriusXM Satellite Radio makes the announcement. Jim Ladd is coming aboard.
Ah, satellite radio. Makes sense. No commercials in the same way, subscriber model.
It was the perfect refuge. From January 2012 right up until he passed away in December 2023, Ladd hosted a live daily freeform show on the Deep Tracks channel.
So he finally found a place where he could just do his thing without the constant corporate pressure.
Totally. Satellite radio's business model doesn't rely on chasing Arbitron ratings the same way terrestrial radio does. It's listener-supported, so he had complete freedom. He could just focus on the music, on connecting with the tribe, playing whatever felt right. It proved the format wasn't dead. It just needed a different kind of ecosystem to survive.
It's kind of a commentary on media itself, isn't it? That this really human, artistic approach couldn't survive in the purely commercial space anymore.
A powerful commentary. It had to find a niche, a place away from the relentless drive for predictable maximum profit.
Outside of the daily grind, he did get some major recognition for his career, right? The Walk of Fame star.
Oh yeah, absolutely deserved. May 6th, 2005, he got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, 7018 Hollywood Boulevard.
What was the citation for?
It recognized his first 38 years of groundbreaking radio, and it tells you how much artists respected him. Jackson Browne, his friend, gave the speech at the ceremony. That confirms the musicians knew Ladd was on their side, fighting the good fight for the music.
He really dedicated his whole life to this, always choosing the music and the connection over the easy path. He was married, right?
Yeah, married to Helene Hodge, who's a writer, poet, and musician herself.
And then the end came while he was still doing what he loved.
Right up to the end. He died of a heart attack December 17th, 2023. He was 75, still hosting his freeform show on SiriusXM. His death really did feel like the closing of a chapter, the last of the great freeform rock DJs, a guy who started when vinyl ruled and ended in the age of streaming, never compromising that core belief in the DJ's role. Hashtag outro.
So wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway for you listening? Jim Ladd's story, it's more than just one DJ's career. It's really a symbol, right? A decades-long fight against media becoming too standardized, too impersonal.
Yeah, he proved again and again that the human touch matters. The DJ's voice, their choices, that ability to connect with listeners on an emotional, intellectual level, that has real value, measurable value even, in terms of loyalty.
And looking at the bigger picture, his story really throws the cost of that standardization into sharp relief. When AOR and big corporate ownership took over, something important got lost.
We lost a lot of the discovery, the surprise, the personality that built that fierce loyalty. Remember, the tribe? They followed Ladd everywhere because he treated them like people, not like demographic data points in an Arbitron report. That connection was real.
And now, freeform radio lives on, but mostly on satellite, maybe some niche streaming stations. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? We talk about personalization all the time now with music apps, but it's mostly algorithmic.
Right. The algorithm suggests stuff based on what you already like. It rarely pushes you way outside your comfort zone the way a great freeform DJ could.
So here's the final thought for you to chew on. Where does that truly human-driven, maybe even challenging freeform curation exist today? Is it YouTube channels, podcasts, niche blogs,
And what was the real lasting cultural cost of losing that unpredictable element on the mainstream airwaves? When playlists got super tight, driven by consultants, what gems did we miss? What artists never got heard?
Think about why the tribe was so loyal. What is it about that human connection, that shared experience curated by someone you trust, that algorithms maybe can't replicate? That loyalty survived corporate purges, format flips, new technologies.
That connection, the kind Jim Ladd built, that's maybe what got sacrificed in the name of efficiency. Something to think about next time you hit shuffle or wonder where all the real characters on the radio went.
Definitely something to mull over. Thanks for diving deep with us today.